All right, welcome everybody. Let's just do a quick audio check before we get going here, just to make sure everything is working properly and you can hear me okay and all that kind of good stuff. So just take a moment here and do that. Make sure my audio is coming across good, and let's see how that's working. All right, audio is good. Thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. My name is Bennett McDowell with TradersCoach.com, and it is 8 a.m. Pacific time here on the West Coast in San Diego. Beautiful day here. All right, let's get going. Now, what I want you to start doing is typing in stocks you want me to look at or ETFs. We pretty much keep it to stocks and ETFs, and type them in caps. All right, it's just easier for me to see them. Let me just run through a few administrational items while you guys are getting set up on your end for doing that. And quickly, I just want to go over the risks involved in trading. Whenever we do a public event like this, we have to cover this. It is possible to lose some or all of your money trading the financial markets or even investing in the financial markets. There is always risk whenever we do that. And we work in a realm of probabilities, not certainties, when we talk about analysis, markets, target zones, what we think are good, and so forth. Also, too, please use money you can afford to risk in the markets. That's called risk capital. And also know how to do risk control. You know, every time we go into a trade, we calculate how many shares, or if you're trading the futures markets, that would be contracts, to actually trade with. So if we lose on that trade or get stopped out, we know exactly how much we're going to lose. So it's really important to do risk control. If you want any help with that, I'll show you a book in a minute that can really help you with that. And that book is on the far right-hand side. It's a brand new book I just did to handle money management in these current volatile conditions that we're in. So check that out. It's on Amazon, and I'll put the link down below on the recording as well. But if you go to Amazon and just type in my name, you'll find that book. Really helpful. It's not a big book. What I've done is taken a lot of the concepts out in my Traders Money Management System book on the far left, the white one, and condensed it into what you really need to know to implement risk control. So it's kind of like the Cliff Notes, if you say, on money management. Check that out. Now, I use a lot of software tools. We've developed, tools over the last, 23 years of doing this in terms of having a website and offering help for students and clients and hedge funds. These are our tools. Upper row is basically charting software. We have scanners, risk control software, the whole 9 yards. So I'm not going to go into great detail because I want to get into this looking at stocks. But again, check that out on our website if you're interested. Now, finally, like, subscribe, and share. The more people we can bring in here, the better we're going to do, simply because, we're going to take a look at stocks for the next, half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how many. And the idea here is the more people we can get here sharing their ideas or concepts, the more you could walk away with a couple of new picks each and every week. So that's kind of the purpose. Also, too, if you're here and you're in a trade or thinking about going into a trade and you kind of want a second opinion, type it in and I'll take a look at it for you, okay? All right, let's come out of here and let's go into the actual charts. All right, while you're typing stocks in, I'm going to go ahead and just take a quick look at Bitcoin. Now, we've been looking at the ETF for Bitcoin, which is GBTC. And, it looked like it was going to be a good trade, but it has fallen apart. I want you to show you this. It has gone below the bottom here. So if you were in it, stopped out, we were in it, stopped out. All right. And don't go in it yet. It's still coming down on all time frames. So you got to hold off here. This is still green here. So if we get a bottom, we may get another opportunity. But right now, it's not in, the bottom is not in yet on this. All right, before I go further, a little quick synopsis of what you're looking at here. You're looking at 3 charts. I happen to be using NinjaTrader right now. So you're looking at 3 charts. This is the 60-minute chart on the far left. This gives us our short-term view of the market. This is the daily chart in the center. I call that the intermediate view. And this is the weekly chart on the far right. And this is our long-term view. And so that's how we kind of use multiple time frame analysis to kind of take a look at all three time frames. We don't like to enter a trade unless we're kind of in sync on all of these three time frames. At the top here, this thing up here, this is our scanning software. So that's always going as well. And so that's the layout. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we may find a bottom on GBTC, but it's not there yet. Okay. So do not go into that one yet. All right. Let's get going here. I can see some stock picks coming in here. All right. SII, I think, is this next one here. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is for TS Long. Nice to have you here. So let's bring that one up. And if you wouldn't mind, when you type it in caps, tell me if you're long, short, out of the market, thinking about it. Just kind of gives me a little reference on how to analyze that for you personally. All right, so obviously we're in a move to the downside. Now, using our tools, a couple things to know. All right, these little pyramids you see here, these usually point, they're triangles, and they usually point in the direction of the trend. So we always look at that. We also have some pivot point areas here, greed bars here that form near tops and so forth. Then we come down to the indicators. This is called the OWL, and it stands for the Optimum Wave Locator. It's measuring bullish and bearish momentum. It helps us with the Elliott wave count as well. Then we have the PTF under here, which is the Precision Trend Filter. And this is kind of a really cool indicator. This is one of my favorites because when it is red, for example, it's showing we have more lows coming. So it's kind of really helpful when you're looking for a bottom. If that baby is red, you don't have a bottom yet. That's kind of what that's saying. Likewise, if it's green to the upside. And then under that is the overall trend. And then under here is our greed bars called the ERI. So we got quite a few indicators that we look at along with the art software, drawing the triangles. And from this, we get a clearer picture using our tools and connecting the dots of those tools on what we should be doing. All right, so on SII, still coming down. We have bearish pyramids on the daily chart that are still active. Here, they're still active. And we have red here. So this is coming down still. Now, in terms of a target of where we think this is going, that's kind of a messy chart a little bit. Let's take a look at the weekly chart and see if that can help us. Not the cleanest chart. Look at the volatility, even a weekly chart. So in this case here, what I would do probably is shy away from this one at this time. And if you were in it from the long side, you probably would have been stopped out already using our system, obviously, because here's the pyramid for that. I don't see any real direction in this at this point, so I would probably find a better candidate for momentum trading. So when we talk about momentum trading, what we're trying to do is catch trends and catch high probability scalping opportunities. And I don't see that on this one. Okay, so I would pass on that one. Hopefully that helped you. All right, let's see what we got here. Stuart is back. Okay, Stuart, I think you were on vacation, right? Great time, huh? All right, Amazon, AMZN. Let's take a look at this one for John. How are you doing, John? All right, so we got Amazon, and we looked at this last week, and let's just open up this weekly chart here. Now, some of you may or may not be into the Elliott wave. I happen to love it. Okay, I've been using it for almost 30 years now. And this is definitely a wave 3 to the upside here. And here's your wave 4. So we had looked at this a while ago, and we were anticipating prices getting into the target, and they did. So that is in an area here where we need to look for a reversal to the upside. So in terms of Elliott wave, there's 5 waves in a trend. So there's your 3, there's your 4. And we'll see if wave 5 emerges. Now, things change sometimes. Sometimes what we think is an Elliott wave 3 may be in a beginning of a longer term trend. It may just be a 1. And that's when these wave 4s go much lower than we thought. So you got to be careful not to just jump in to the next wave based on the fact that it reaches the target zone alone. So this is more where we talk about connecting the dots. So this is one dot connected. All right, we still have a negative OWL. So we want to be careful about going long when that's negative. This is neutral, so that's good. But if it goes down much further, it could turn red. So we got to be really careful here about jumping into a long position. Let's take a look and see what the lower time frames are telling us. On the daily chart, you can certainly see, very interestingly, right away we have a red PTF. So we're probably find the lowest low in that red area, and that's just the price bar from yesterday. So there's a 75% chance, that's the probability of this indicator being accurate, that we will eventually return and go lower. Now, with the PTF, it doesn't tell you when, and it doesn't tell you how high the retracement is going to be before it goes back down, or if there is going to be a retracement. So it only is telling you that there's a 75% probability that that low will be breached again. And as you can see, we have bearishness here and here. It's getting better. So we probably will get a retracement up. So I anticipate this going up to maybe 28 and then dropping back down. So a lot of people will think this is the bottom and they'll go in, and that's probably what will draw it up. But with this remaining red, and check out the momentum, huge momentum. We haven't seen that momentum in a long time. So that's another indication that we have one more leg down before we have any type of bullish divergence on this time frame. So I like Amazon for a watch list. Keep an eye on it, but I don't think it's come down yet. I don't think it's done coming down. Okay, so hopefully that helped you. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Keep them coming. The more we have, the better it is. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at gold. Now, it's been very interesting. You know, the market has had a lot of volatility, the overall market. And usually when we see this kind of volatility, people tend to come out of the market and go into more safe havens, things like gold. But look at this, it's coming down. Now, what's interesting about gold here is that we have a green PTF on 2 time frames and a red one, if you can see it, way over here. So short term, this is a 60-minute chart. So this is indicating we're going to have a little bit more movement to the downside. But at some particular point, when that stops and reverses, we should get a new high on gold. All right, so I think it's going back up eventually, just not quite yet. Let's open this weekly chart up and just kind of give you an idea of what the history of gold looks like. And as you can see here, back in 2011, we had a pretty significant high there. And let me just show you what that looked like, okay? So that got way up here. And then we had a very long-term bearish correction that ended in 2016 down here. And that is an Elliott wave 4. Now we're going back up into a 5. We hit the target zone, but this has been green. The peak, this is exactly why I love the PTF. So it remained green. Now, if you didn't have that indicator, you reach the target zone, you probably just exit the market. This is indicating one more high coming. So just hang in there, okay? It's coming back. If you're thinking about a trade, wait a little while until the lower time frames have bullish owls, which is our first indicator. That's our momentum indicator. That's the histogram. And we get rid of that red PTF on the 60-minute chart. So, you know, I think bullishness will return. But again, this is another one where it's still coming down. All right, let's keep going. All right, TLT. Let's take a look at the bonds. Now, here's another area that's kind of interesting. The bonds have basically, you know, left the station and have gone to the downside. What a beautiful short trade on TLT. Look at the pyramids. All right, and what we do is this is how we trail our stops. We just go down to the flat parts of the bearish pyramids, and our stop would be here. All right, so that's kind of where we're at on that. So beautiful move to the downside. Let's take a look at the weekly chart because we still have a red PTF again now. I don't know if you can see it there at home. I'll open this up. But this is red still. So we're not done going down. And we already hit the target zone. So in terms of these retracement situations, 70% of the time when we draw in our retracements, the retracement ends, and these are fib retracements, between 38.2 and 61.8. That's 70% of the time they end there. And that's when you draw them from wave 2 to wave 3, not from the start of the entire trend. That's why we can come up with these unique numbers. Now, 15% of the time, they go down lower, and that's what we're experiencing here. And then 15% of the time, they're shallow and end in this red area. So it's kind of exceeded the normal area and coming down. And what that usually means is that the more it comes down, then the more possibility that the next move up is going to be shallow. In other words, it's not going to get that high above here. And if that's a 3, this is a 4, you know, we expect 5 to get above that. But if this keeps coming down, then that, of course, is void. So we got to keep an eye on that, all right? This is a wave 1 top here. We have not gone below that. But if we do go below that, then, of course, that means this is a 1 and not a 3. So that's all the Elliott wave gizmo there, okay? So it's got a ways to go before it invalidates a wave 4 count. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So what are you going to do with this? Well, if you're short, you're going to be smiling right now, and your stop's going to be here. If you're waiting to go long, keep waiting, okay? It's not quite ready yet, but it will be at some point, provided it doesn't, you know, go so low. So let's look at that next week. I don't think that'll be ready for anything next week. All right, on the spider, let's see what we got for that bad boy. All right, so here's the spider here, okay? Now, this is kind of interesting. All right, so I've generated a short position on the overall market, and that includes the Dow, that included the NASDAQ a while back, and the Dow a while back. Why? Because if you look at the weekly chart, let's open this up here real quick. Once again, wave 3. You can't mistake an Elliott wave 3. It just jumps out at you. So that's a 3. Now, let's connect the dots. We had a red owl appear since this year because it's been moving down the entire year. We also had a bearish weekly pyramid. Okay, boom. And then we have a red PTF. Boom, okay. So this chart is screaming short trade. Now, where is this thing going? Okay, that's the next question. And for that, we're going to draw in a fib retracement. And I've done this on the Dow, of course, as well, but we'll do it here. And let me just basically get as close as I can. So on this, believe it or not, if this market now goes in to a major wave 4, which by all means right now certainly could be, then the target range is going to be in here. And that's between 323 and 226. However, look at this bad boy over here, the PTF. That's showing that the lowest low in that PTF was the COVID low back in 2020. So there's a 75% probability we're going lower than that. May just be a hair lower, okay? But that's what it's saying. So when we look at a chart like this and we start connecting the dots, we look at the Elliott wave. And the Elliott wave is saying, okay, we're in a wave 3. We're in a pretty mature part of the wave 3 because we're going back over 10 years. And we're getting a bearish pyramid. We have a red owl. We have a red PTF. So that PTF is going to now come into play when the market sells off. We have a fib retracement down there. No reason not to be short based on this chart alone. Okay, doesn't mean the market can't come down and reverse and go up, because that's another possibility and finish wave 3 a little bit further. But the tools are telling me to go short here. I follow the tools. And you have also too a lot of bearishness on the lower time frames. Now, word of caution on this. If you're going to go short here, what I recommend is you do not use a pyramid on the daily or 60-minute chart, because it's already come down enough that we've generated a lot of pyramids already on these time frames. So keep your stop above this pyramid on the weekly, because you are going to get a rebound on this. And if this is a downtrend, that pyramid should hold and it should go back down. So stop loss placement here is very important. A stop based on the daily chart at this point will probably take you out on any type of rebound that you experience, because you are going to get a rebound here. So just be careful about that. Choose your stop. So this is I look at this as a long-term short. And, there's many ways you could participate in these. Okay. The dog ETF, if you just wanted to go buy that, if you have an IRA. The SQQ is a good one. Problem with the NASDAQ now is it's already too far gone. Okay. So we'll take a look at those if you want to. All right. So hopefully that helped you. We've looked at TLT and SPY for you. All right. ESS. Let's take a look at this one. And who is this one for? Grayson, how are you? Good to have you here today. All right, let's take a look and see what we have on the ESS. I would say fairly bearish, right? So right away, you have that long-term PTF that's been bearish since the major low back in 2020. And now you have the ETFs red here and here. And this is pretty significant. However, this one, we're starting to see a move close to the green area. So I would imagine short term. So the nice thing about having multiple time frame analysis is that the intermediate trend is down. All right. The 60-minute chart is also down, but we have bullish divergence, which showing that this may be a short-term bottom, not an overall bottom, because this is red and this is red, but we probably will get a pull up here. So this would be a 3, 4, and one more leg down 5. So I would imagine you'll get a pull here and then a downside once again. So if you are not short yet, but you want to get short, you'll probably have an opportunity on the next pullback for a better price, and then wait for it to roll over again on the 60-minute chart. Okay. So I'm bearish on this. And again, in terms of this producing possibly a significant long-term sell-off is quite good. Okay. So that's ESS. And KTB sounds like a radio station. KTB. All right, let's check out KTB here. All right, so this one here, not as much history, right, on this one. I'm only showing going back about 2019 or so. All right, so let's take a look at this one. All right, this is kind of interesting. So we have a green PTF over here, and we have a red owl here with bearish pyramid. So here's the deal on this. Let me just grab my marker here. So I would imagine we'll get some type of retracement soon off this at some point. We have green, so there's a high probability of taking that out. So I almost call this not only an Elliott Wave 5 trade, but also possibly a scalp trade. So let's just quickly take a look and see some retracement areas. So we'll go off 2 all the way up to 3, and we're in that right now. All right, so you may go down a little further. Let's see what the shorter time frames show. All right, so we're starting to get a little bullishness. I don't know if you can see this at home. This is green, but we're starting to get a sliver of bullishness. We had a bullish momentum or a divergence, bullish divergence, and we're starting to see bullish pyramids here. So it looks to me like we may be starting to see some bullishness come in, and maybe, just maybe, this is a significant bottom down here. So here's what I do, would play this. So on the 60-minute chart, we still have a red owl. That's this histogram down here. This is green. I'm liking that. We got a pyramid here. I'd wait for this to go green and then take a long trade on this. Cut your position size in half because this is still red. Trying to get an early entry, put your stop at the very, very bottom. That way, if you get stopped out, it's only because the bottom was not a bottom. You're not getting stopped out on volatility. But that could be one that could be pretty good, all right, if we get a green PTF. And it's close to going green on the 60 minutes. So let's write that one down as kind of one I think you could be in this week. All right, KTB, good one. Woo-hoo. All right, let's say DRI for Kevin. DRI. Keep them coming, guys. All right, so DRI. Let's see what we got cooking on this. All right, so bearishness again on the weekly chart. I mean, there it is, right? Check out the COVID low on this one. Ooh, man, look at that. So believe it or not, check this out. Huge move coming to the downside. So let's see what we do with this. You've got pyramids to the downside here. All right, so if you want to get in early, okay, all right. You've had your 5 pyramids to the upside, so you can use one of those to get in early. You've got red here on the 60, so that's a check, but this is not a check. So you got green here. So it looks like we may go back up above this high here at some point, okay? So we got to be a little careful here. All right, so I would not go short on this yet until the 60-minute chart no longer has a green PTF, okay? So I'd hold off on that one. Very good. All right, so let's see what else we got cooking. CVX. And this is for TS. All right, bullish, pretty much across the board. Let's take a look at this weekly chart. Ooh, that's kind of messy, isn't it? But it did break out here, so that's significant. And here is where the owl's the highest it's been, okay? So the histogram here, which measures momentum, is the highest it's ever been. So that's a wave 3 we're in now. You don't get that kind of momentum without being in a wave 3. So that's a wave 3. You have this now green and green. So that's bullish at this particular point. This turned green right here. Look at this, right where this pyramid got hit. So this would have been the entry on this one. But let's take a look at the other charts. So we have green here and green here. So yes, I'm bullish on this. The problem is this would be a late entry. So what I would do instead is wait for a pullback and then get in. That's how I would play that. And here is the fib retracements. Let me do those for you on where that pullback could be. And right about there. So I would wait for this thing to get down to 135 to 110. And if you wanted to short it to get down to that area, I would be careful here because you have a very strong owl still on the weekly chart. So you may have one more high before it goes into a major correction. So going short to these target zones is always tricky when the owl on the weekly chart over here is so bullish. So if you go short, only do it with a half a trade position size that you would normally do. All right, so that's CVX. All right, MUDS, M-U-D-S. Great name, MUDS. All right, let's see what we got cooking on there. Whoo! All right, so, all right, it's at $10. I'm not that familiar with MUDS, but I can tell you that took a wallop. So here's the thing. Look at the 60-minute chart. This is a low liquidity situation here. All right. Yes, we have a green PTF. If you wanted to take a flyer and go in, you could do that when this goes bullish. And then try to put your stop under this pyramid here. Oh my gosh. Let me just see if I can get that up. There you go. So you'd want to put it under this pyramid here. And then good luck, okay? Not saying it won't do anything, but this would be a real flyer, okay? There's just very little liquidity on this. All right, but it shows you can use the tools on any market, literally. All right, AFL. Let's take a look at this one, Grayson, for you. All right, so you're short on this one. All right, I probably would be a little careful on this one. Now, a couple things. Let's take a look at that weekly chart first. All right, so on this move up here, you're definitely seeing bearish divergence, right? Higher highs, this going here, whenever you see that, that's divergence. So you definitely have that bullet, or you have that dot connected, right? You've been stopped already out of your long position. You do not have a red here. Okay, so any entry here is premature. If we go here on the daily chart here, you do have an entry here. All right, so this is giving you an early entry, and of course now you have bearishness here. So you do have that. The only thing here is you've got bullish divergence here on this. So you're probably going to get a rebound up to around 62 bucks. And then you're going to find out if this thing is going to make one more high or sell off. And the reason why I say that is because you have a bullish owl here as a possible, okay, indication that wave 3 is not over. Okay, so you got to be careful here a little bit. So nothing wrong with taking an early entry, okay? Nothing wrong with that. And you could go in here. Problem is that at this particular point, we haven't really had a big pull up yet. So you can't use the pyramid here, okay? You'd have to put your stop up here to allow for that kind of volatility. So you'd have to adjust your trade size down. All right, and I think we're going to get that again because we have bullish divergence over here. So I would kind of be looking more for a short trade if things still look good, maybe up here, and then do half a trade size because you're going against the owl on the weekly chart. Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's take a look at HQY. HQY. All right. Let me see what you're short on this one. Okay. So bearishness here. Let me open up the weekly chart. Oh, that's a messy chart. All right. So now, when we have a chart like this, this is probably 3. This is a very complex correction. This is either 4 and we're kind of in a sloppy 5, or this is 3 and we're in a complex correction. And we may make another low, which is what this is showing. So if you want to get out your Elliott wave slide rule, this could be an A, B, C, D, E type of thing, you know, the whole 9 yards. So, but it's a complex correction if it is that. So, okay, fine. All right. But here's what we could do on this. I use this PTF purely sometimes for scalping when I have a messy market and the Elliott wave's not clear. And the idea here is we're going below here. So let me see if there's a trading opportunity where I can get in and take a scalp trade. Problem with getting in now is you don't have the risk to reward. And what do I mean by that? I mean, here's what the PTF is saying is the target. Here's where we'd have to put our stop. I mean, you know, based on the weekly chart. And here's where prices are. So this is less than a 1-to-1 or equal to a 1-to-1. And I don't like to go in unless I have a 2-to-1 ratio. Let's see if the smaller time frames help. Okay, you got red here and red here. And look, you've already got an extended situation here on the 60. So I would say no go on this one. Okay. And if you're short, you can stay short. If you got in early, great. Okay. But not now. Okay. That type of thing. HQY. All right. Disney for John. Let's take a look at the old Disney, Mickey Mouse. All right. Let's see what's cooking on here. Woohoo. Check that out. All right. So moving down pretty rapidly here. Still moving down. Bearish owls across the board. Yellow PTFs now. We've had 3 pyramids in a row on the weekly. You've had 1, 2, 3, 4 on the daily, and a lot more even on the 60. So this would have been a good short earlier. I think now a short position here is Not that it wouldn't be profitable maybe, but it's more risky because the sell-off is so extensive at this point. So if I were to, and you don't have any help from the PTFs here either. So I kind of, at this particular point, the only thing that could provide a target would be a retracement situation. So let's go ahead and draw those in the best we can. And I think maybe from here to here, and you're already in the target zone. So I'm kind of reluctant on joining the short party right now on this. I think I would probably lay low and wait for a bullish opportunity after this settles down. And you may get one more low out of this, but I think there's more risk going short now than long. But that's just me. UEC. Let's take a look at that one. Thank you for sharing that one. All right, back to TS. All right, so let's see what we got cooking here. All right, so no longer a yellow PTF on the weekly, but you do have a green one here. Okay, and you have red here. So here's the way I would play this at this particular point. I would probably, let's just open this up here and see what we got cooking here. All right, so notice that this is higher than this or this. So this is 3, this is not. All right, that's quickly how you determine. So we're in a pullback of some form here. So let's grab this, bring it up to here, and there we are. All right, so what's the next thing to do? I would probably, you could probably consider a long trade after the owls turn green on the daily and 60-minute chart. And you got a PTF scalp trade right there. So that's in correlation with taking out one of the highs as well. So I would imagine you'll get above here at some point. So I'd be looking for a long trade after the bearishness dissipates on the daily and 60-minute chart. That's that's UEC. UEC. All right, now UUU. Take a look at that bad boy here. All right, so this one, okay, now has a red PTF, and it also went below the pyramid. So no long position here at this particular point. In fact, it looks like it's going to go low and make another low. We have red here, nothing green anymore here. So I would say at this particular point, it's heading a little lower. So that's kind of a big move down from where it was, but don't buy into this yet, okay? Because that's probably what you're thinking about doing, but not yet. Could be later, but not right now. LIT, let's take a look at that one. All right, this is nice and clean, this one, okay? This is pretty good. So big move up, you know, when a chart jumps out at you like this, that's a 3. You know it is. Huge, okay? Let's just take a look at a couple things here on this that I find kind of interesting. So first thing I want to do is let's run a retracement. I'm going to run it from here. No. Let's see. Trying to find 2. Yes, here. Okay, so let's run that from here and run that to here. Okay. So notice that on this move up with the highest here, 3, ABC, hit the target zone, red. We moved up here. This and this did not exceed this, so this is a 5. Okay, so now we've begun a new trend to the downside. Okay, so actually the wave 5, not 3, was here. And since then, we've been trailing off. So that's what the weekly chart or the daily chart is showing us. Now, the weekly chart is showing us a wave 3. So the daily chart, this was a 3, this was a 4. These are your 5 waves inside wave 3. And now you're moving down into wave 4. All right, so let's draw the fib retracements here. All right, I got to figure out. where that one was. I think it was right here is what I used there. So, okay, so let's go for there on that one. I think that's about right. Okay, so we're in the target zone now. We still have a very red owl. Let's see what the charts here on the lower time frames. Okay, so this move down is not over, but we should experience a bump up because this is bullish here. So I would imagine we'll come up to about 70 to 72 and then see more selling going back a little bit, like something like this, maybe rolling over. And then we want to look for a bottom for a long trade then. Okay, that's the way I would play that. Okay, that's LIT. All right, Kenneth, how are you? Okay, so BR. All right, so let's see where we're at on this one. Let me open up that weekly chart. All right, big move up back in 2007, hasn't recovered, and it definitely is sitting around bottom territory here, right? Okay, so we've got a little more bullishness coming in lately, which is a good thing. All right, so we took out this little pyramid here and formed a new one to the upside here. So this bearishness turned into bullishness, so to speak. So that's a good sign. You have a broader base channel here. Okay, so that's not really the best straight line I could do. Let's get a more accurate one here. And then let me just move that up so I make sure I've got the right price bar. Okay, something like that. So we want to make sure that breaks out of there because as you can see, it's, gone sideways for years. Worst thing you can do when you make a trade is have your, initiate the trade and then have it go nowhere. Okay, because then that's just money sitting dormant, and it's just, we're momentum traders. Okay, so if you're an investor, okay, I guess, but even then I wouldn't be that happy. All right, so let's see a little bit more of what's going on in the shorter time frames. So we've got some bullishness here. You can see this breakout approaching the top that we indicated on the actual weekly chart. So we'll draw that so you can see it clearer here too. We haven't broke that yet. Got a red pyramid now that's been stopped out. So it's kind of topping here. It could come back down. It's not a very clear situation. And this is bullishness on the 60-minute chart as well. Now, just so you know, when you're looking at three charts like this, there's times when there's more opportunity on a 60-minute chart than there is on a daily or a weekly because you're trading inside some of those swings. So there's nothing wrong with going long on a 60-minute chart. But if you're going against the longer terms, just drop your trade size a little bit. And when I do that, what I usually do is put the 60 in the middle. And then I put something like maybe the 30-minute chart or the 15-minute chart as the short-term chart. Okay, so that's a possibility as well. Depends. And if you're going to take a 60-minute trade, you're not going to be in it as long as it would be if you were taking one based on the higher time frames. So that's PPR. Not one of my favorites. Okay, I have to say. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, QQQ, Eleanor, good one. All right. Oh, three Qs there. Okay, it used to be 4, so I'm glad they dropped it back down to 3. All right, so when we looked this last time, we were looking, let's just give this a second to load here. Okay, so when we were looking at this last time, we had drawn in fib retracements for the target zone and the pullback, and we got that. And then we sold off again. Now, what's interesting here, as compared to before, is that we had thought this was a 3, this was a 4, and this was a 5. This actually turned out to be a 4, but a minor 4. And we're still in 3 because this is so much deeper than this one. Now, what does that mean? Well, it probably means if we go to the weekly chart here, that we are in a wave still on the downside. There's 5 waves in a wave. And you see those 5 waves on the daily chart. So 3, 4, 5. So 3, let's get rid of this so it doesn't confuse us here. So we're in 3 here. all right, pull up one more down low, and that should complete a wave on the QQQ. That's kind of the way I'm thinking of it now. And we're probably still got a bearish owl even on the 60-minute, but we are seeing bullish divergence inside 3. So I would say probably a move up and one more move down. Now, this is once again kind of like some of the others have indicated a short trade. The only thing we don't have is a PTF down here, but that's okay because you still have this as a dot connected, and you have this, you have bearishness, you have bearishness. Okay, so if you want to try to get a little better price, you can play the short-term charts for the rebound and get short there. Okay, that's a possibility. Where is this bad boy going? Pretty far down. Okay, it's been on a big move, and you know, we all know that the NASDAQ has definitely gotten more extended than the other indexes. So, you know, basically we're probably heading down into that territory on this ETF, okay, between 261 and 169. All right. All right, WEX. And while that's loading, I want to thank everybody for being here. You know, last week we had a little bit of a connectivity issue, and we use a vendor called StreamYard, which is really good. And they helped us resolve the issue. Apparently, it was actually, believe it or not on our computer, but it was actually on their end. They had a server that did not connect properly to the social media channels that we broadcast on. And so that's what the problem was. So we had to cancel last week, and I thank everybody for coming back this week. I hate to do that, but sometimes, you know, the audio was so bad we just really couldn't continue. So hopefully they got that all fixed up and we are good to go. All right, WEX. Let's see, this is for Grayson as well. All right. All right, so here's an example of one where, you know, here's the COVID low. Another one where, you know, since 2022, we've seen some drifting. We also got a channel to the downside. So we're kind of in this situation where it's drifting. But one thing's kind of interesting here. Let's go ahead and draw this out here. So there's your classic pennant in technical analysis. So we may, you know, drift a little bit more, or it may break either way. So we got to kind of see which way it's going to do. The PTF is indicating a break to the downside at some point. So we kind of, you know, think about that. All right, so let's see what the shorter time frames are doing. Bearish on the daily, and actually a pop up on the 60-minute. We're about to have a green, I think, owl there. So I imagine we'll get some type of retracement here. Now, what's interesting with this, I often talk about points of inflection. So we've had this move down here. This is probably going to go into a correction, and it looks like it's already started. So the point of inflection here is roughly 50%, pardon my straight lines here, 50% from the bottom and the top. And that's when the market will either hit that area and bounce back down for a new low, or continue on up, or even it could, you know how the market is, it could bounce down, come down, and form more inflection points. Then you have a new inflection point. But these inflection points is a great dot to connect, because what it helps you do is it helps you kind of see whether the inflection point is going to create a bullish or bearish scenario after it's hit. And so I use them all the time. So WEX, I guess kind of to the downside is where you want to be on this. And like some of the others we looked at, you know, that PTF is sitting way down here. So I could certainly see a short trade for sure. And you got a pyramid on there as well. All right, so that is WEX. Let's take a look at FXI. And this is for TS. Give that a second to load here. And also a side note here, you know, whenever we do analysis, again, we don't like to talk in absolutes. Everything is probability. So that's why we have to use risk control. So please use risk control. We're not always right. Okay. Nobody is in the markets. And the ones that think they are always right, okay, run for the hills, because they usually are not always right, obviously. And they usually have some type of ulterior motive for being so arrogant about it. All right. So let's take a look at this here. So this is heading to the downside. All right, so we got a number of pyramids in a row. So just so you know, part of our rule base is when we have 4 pyramids in a row, that's kind of a little bit of a warning sign that the move down is getting extended. Now, sometimes we have as many as 8, but the average usually is 4 to 5 before we see some type of correction or trend reversal. So we're getting into that territory now. You still have a red PTF here. Messy market. Okay, very messy market. So when I see something like this, if I could find one like KTB, which is one we looked at earlier, that's much clearer and closer to a rebound, I would focus on that versus getting stuck in one of these type of markets. All right, so we're heading down. There's no PTF here to help us on this one. There is a PTF here that helps us, so more lows coming for sure. But you can see it's a fairly extended move to the downside. And it looks like we may see a brief pullback at some point with more lows coming. So that's kind of where I'm talking about, thinking about that. Now, I don't know if you're already short on this one. Who is this one for? This is Grayson, I think. Yep, no, this is TS Long. All right, so on this one here, you know, if you're short, hey, you're in great shape. So put your stop right here. And if it's a longer term trade, okay, your stop can be here until this blue one turns red. All right, so that's how you play that. All right, RSX. Let's take a look at this one here. Oh man, talk about dropping out of bed. So look at the pyramid here on the weekly chart. Boom, okay. And now, so definitely caught that at the open when it was sliding past it. All right, bearish, bull, yeah, bearish now, was bullish, bearish now. Okay, so definitely strong movement to the downside. We have right away, you know, when you look at a chart on multiple time frame analysis, look, PTF is red, red, and red on all 3 time frames. Okay, don't consider a long trade yet. Okay, now doesn't mean you might not get a bounce, but we're not there yet. Okay, it's just too bearish for you to consider that. So hopefully you got in. Now, if you didn't get in, remember points of inflection. So here, wherever this bottoms, okay, it may go down further, but wherever it bottoms, take the 50% mark, and that's where you should look for your next short if you missed it. Okay, so the only thing is before you go short, make sure you still have bearishness on these indicators. So you'll have a little bullishness, wait for it to roll over and those indicators be bearish again, and then join the short party because it's not over yet. So that's RSX. All right, Google. Eleanor, Google, a good one. All right, let's take a look at that one. GOOG. All right, let me open up the weekly chart. We obviously looked at this one, popular one. Okay, so here is what I'm talking about. When these jump out at you, don't you like looking at a chart like this that's so clear as compared to the others? All right, let me just see here what we've got cooking here. I'm even thinking we had a fairly green. I'm going to move this target zone. I'm not happy with that. I think it should have been down here. Okay, so I think that's probably a more realistic long-term target. So we're in wave 4. All right, 3, 4. Entry would have been nice here. Okay, again, probably going to hit the target zone. Won't be a straight line. You may have a little zigzagging, but it's working its way down there. And you can see it's bearish already here and bearish here, but we do have bullish divergence building in the 60-minute. So we're due for a little bit of a correction here. See the bullish divergence? So probably points of inflection. I could draw fibs in, but you know, basically you can eyeball it about 2,600. will probably be where this thing may go up to. And then we'll see what happens at that point. You do not have any PTFs helping you anymore, okay? And you've come close enough to the target zone that you do have to be a little careful here, because 15% of the time, which is not a high number, but it is a number, wave fours end here. So, you know, if you take a short trade trying to get back into the target zone, just be careful with that a little bit and have your stops in place and do your position sizing, okay? All right, so that is Google. So I think after a rebound here, I think it's, you know, I go with the probabilities. There's a 70% probability it'll reach that target zone. It's come darn close. So that always makes it difficult, but it didn't hit it. So I would be reluctant about saying this move to the downside is over. All right, RBLX. And this is for Barbara. Oh, Barbara. All right, so let's see what this one is saying. Okay, so on the history situation, not too much history, but bearish history it is, okay? We do have some bullish divergence on the daily chart, not so on this. So any trade you take to the long side, you're going against a lot of bearishness momentum on the weekly chart. But you have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pyramids in a row. So that is overextended. So there could be an opportunity for a rebound trade. Let's see what that opportunity could be here. So I expect this thing to rebound, and you're starting to see bullish divergence here, okay? And you've already seen it pop up here, but this is red, all right? So here's my concern with going long here, this being red. So short term, this is saying we're probably going to have another low before we start heading up here. So do not go long here. It's not quite ready anyway. But I would say, and don't go short. It's too late to go short. So I would wait on this. And if this turns abruptly green, and then this goes green, then see where prices are, do your risk to reward, and see if there's enough profit potential to get to the target zone, because at that point, you'd probably reach it. But at this point here, this is nothing more than a correction in an overall downtrend that doesn't appear to be quite over yet. See how nice it is when you have the tools? Okay, you don't have to guess so much. All right, so great. Well, I think that's it. You know, we've been here almost an hour. We looked at some really great stocks. The only one I think, I'm going to go back to KTB. You guys think you saw a winner, let me know. But you know, the market's been so volatile and coming down. There's you know, it's too late to go short on a lot of these and too early to go long. So it's kind of tough to find a winner here. The reason why I'm bringing this one up is because, all right, we're in the target zone for a wave forward retracement on the weekly chart. We're starting to see a little bullishness come in on the lower time frames. I think I wouldn't do anything with this yet because we have an active short pyramid here. So I really can't consider this one a winner either. Just one to watch. Okay. All right. So, all right. Good session today. Excellent. You all enjoy it? Did you enjoy this? So we're going to be back here next Friday at 8. And please bring as many stocks as you want. I try to go through all of them. And I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, please let me know and I'll be glad to look those up. And that's correct, Gene. KTB is not quite ready yet, but good one for a watch list. And we had a couple for the watch list, but there you have it. But I wouldn't really get excited about anyone right now. All right, so that is it. One more I do want to cap this off with is silver. You know, if you listen to a lot of people on YouTube, they were all wanting to buy silver, that it was going through the roof. And they were saying that, you know, at 26, 25 bucks. Way back when. And, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with buying as long as you know when to get out. All right. So this moved down and went below this bottom. You know, this was the bottom for silver that had to have held, and it didn't. So again, remember, what you hear, all right, is not always, okay, the highest probability thing. Always play the probabilities and use risk control, even if something is quote unquote the sure bet. So silver could rebound here at any time and do really well, but it's not the case right now. So if you bought at 26, you're not going to be too happy right now, and you're going to be holding on to something that looks to me like it's going to go a little lower. All right, so just remember, you know, when you buy anything, always look at the charts, because the charts are the truth. And then the charts will always give you points where your stop should be. So that's kind of an important thing. All right, so there it is. All right, so thank you, everybody. All right, so we'll go ahead and end here. And I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you for liking and subscribing. And we'll see you back here next Friday. Have a great weekend.